Think your quarters are only worth 25 cents. Think again. Moneybag, some rare Washington quarters are selling for hundreds, thousands, even over $100,000. In this video, we reveal the top 5 ultra-rare quarters that could turn your spare change into a fortune. Stay tuned, you won't believe number 1. The background, why 1965 was a turning point in U.S. coinage. To understand why the 1965 Washington quarter is so valuable, you need to know what was happening in the world of U.S. coins at the time. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver. But as silver prices soared in the early 1960s, people began hoarding these coins, and the U.S. Mint faced a serious coin shortage. In response, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which eliminated silver from quarters and dimes altogether. Collision, the era that shocked collectors, silver planchet slip-up. During this dramatic shift in coin composition, a monumental error occurred at the U.S. Mint. Some 1965 Washington quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets. That's right, instead of using the new copper-nickel-clad discs, a handful of quarters were mistakenly made using the silver blanks from the previous year. And just like that, a legendary error coin was born. These silver 1965 quarters are extremely rare. Only a few are known to exist. But if you find one, it could be worth a small fortune. Moneybag, the value, from pocket change to 5-figure fortune. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. These rare 1965 era quarters have sold for incredible amounts at auction. Depending on condition, silver content, and collector demand, one of these coins can fetch $55,000 in circulated condition. $86,000 or more for mint state examples. And in some cases, an astonishing $108,000 plus at high-end numismatic auctions. One of the most famous sales was at Heritage Auctions, where a 1965 silver era quarter fetched more than $7,000, and that was years ago. Today, with the growing demand for rare era coins, their value has skyrocketed. Collectors and investors alike are on the hunt, and competition is fierce. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to identify one, silver or clad. Okay, so how can you tell if you've got one of these golden, or rather, silver, tickets? Here's what to look for. 1. Weight. A normal clad 1965 quarter weighs 5.67 grams. A silver era quarter weighs around 6.25 grams. Use a precise scale to weigh your coin. If it's heavier, you might be onto something huge. 2. Edge. Clad quarters have a distinctive copper-colored edge, you can see the layers. A silver quarter will have a solid silver edge, no color stripe. 3. Sound test. Silver coins make a high-pitched ring when dropped on a hard surface, clad coins sound duller by comparison. 4. Professional grading. If you think you found one, have it authenticated by PCGS or NGC. A graded and certified silver 1965 quarter commands much higher prices. Chart increasing. Why they're so rare, minting protocols and human error. You might wonder, how could the U.S. Mint make such a mistake? Remember, 1965 was a transition year, and the Mint was operating under intense pressure. Millions of coins were being struck daily, and in the chaos, a few 1964 silver blanks likely got mixed in with the new copper-nickel ones. It was a simple case of human error at the Mint. But that mistake created one of the most sought-after error coins in U.S. history. Brain numismatic insider tip. Other 1965 errors to watch for. While the silver planchet is the most valuable error, there are other 1965 Washington quarter errors worth noting. Double dies, where the coin design appears double. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing. Clipped planchets, where the coin has a curved chunk missing. These errors aren't worth 5 figures, but some can still bring in hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on rarity and condition. Direct hit wrap-up. Is that quarter in your pocket worth 6 figures? Let's recap. 1965 marked a shift from silver to clad coins. A few silver planchets slipped through and were struck with the 1965 date. These error coins are ultra-rare, and ultra-valuable. The highest known values range from $55,000 to $108,000. The best part, you could literally find one in your pocket change. The backstory, a tough year for coins and coin collectors. Let's rewind to 1983, the year Michael Jackson was moonwalking, Return of the Jedi hit theaters, and Ronald Reagan was in office. But over at the US Mint, things were far less glamorous. Due to economic pressures and budget cuts, the Mint had stopped producing mint sets in both 1982 and 1983. That meant no special collector versions of the coins were being issued. So all 1983 quarters entered the world through circulation only, rattling around in pockets, vending machines, and cash registers. The error, the rare and coveted double die reverse. One of the most valuable and sought-after versions of the 1983 P quarter is the double die reverse, also known as a DDR. This mint error occurs when the coin's die, the metal stamp that creates the coin's design, is improperly made and shows a slightly doubled image on parts of the reverse, the back, of the coin. For the 1983 P quarter, this doubling is most often seen on the word E pluribus unum, the feathers and tail of the eagle, occasionally on the olive branch and arrows. It's not always dramatic, but it's there, and collectors are paying massive sums to get their hands on one. The value, this quarter could be worth over $110,000. Let's talk money. Depending on the condition and clarity of the doubling, a 1983 P double die reverse quarter can be worth $5,000 to $10,000 in circulated condition, $25,000 to $58,000 in high-grade uncirculated condition. And at the top end? Verified, mint state examples have sold $4.89,000, and even exceeded $110,000 at major auctions. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for well-preserved examples, and demand continues to rise. The combination of no official mint sets, limited surviving high-grade coins, and a dramatic error makes this one of the most valuable quarters of the 1980s, maybe even of the 20th century. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to identify one, your step-by-step guide. Think you might have one of these gems? Here's what to look for. 1. Check the mint mark. Look for a small P on the obverse front of the coin, to the right of Washington's ponytail. This means it was minted in Philadelphia, the only mint where this specific error is found. 2. Flip it over, examine the reverse, use a magnifying glass or microscope to inspect the words E pluribus unum above the eagle. If you notice a shadowy doubling of the letters, you might have a DDR. 3. Inspect the eagle's tail feathers and arrows. Many DDRs show clear doubling on the eagle's feather tips, especially where the arrows cross the tail. 4. Weight and sound. These coins are clad, not silver, so their weight should be 5.67 grams. If the weight is off, it could be a different type of error altogether, which might still be valuable. 5. Chart increasing. Why this coin stands out. Scarcity plus error equals $. What makes this error coin so special? No mint sets in 1983. So high-grade coins are rare. Limited survivors, most 1983 quarters are worn down. A bold double die error, striking and visible to the naked eye. High demand plus low supply, the ultimate combo for collectors. Even if you don't find the double die version, a high-grade regular 1983 P quarter can still fetch hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, if in mint condition. This is one year where even the normal coins are worth a second look. Wrap up. Your pocket change could be a jackpot. Let's recap. 1983 was a rough year for coin collectors, and that makes surviving high-quality coins super rare. The 1983 P double die reverse quarter is one of the most exciting and valuable US coins out there. In the right condition, it can sell $4.58,000, $89,000, or even $110,000. And the best part, you could find one in your pocket change right now. The background, 1979, a year of change and mistakes. The year was 1979. Disco was fading, the first Walkman had just hit the market, and the US Mint was churning out millions of coins across the country. But while the Mint was busy with production, it wasn't perfect. Errors slipped through the cracks, and some of them were dramatic, leading to some of the rarest and most valuable quarter-dollar coins ever discovered. The error coins, the most valuable 1979 quarter mistakes. Let's talk about the big ones. 1. Off-center strikes. Some 1979 quarters were struck with the design misaligned, meaning part of the image is missing or shifted off the edge. These off-center coins range in value depending on how dramatic the error is, but here's where it gets crazy. A high-grade 1979 quarter with a 50% off-center strike can fetch up to $10,000, or more if it includes the full date and mint mark. 2. Double die obverse, DDO. This error happens when the coin die, used to stamp the design, shifts between impressions, creating a doubled image, most noticeably in the words, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date. A strong DDO on a 1979 quarter is extremely rare, and some pristine examples have sold for up to $60,000 to $92,000 at auction. Verified by grading services like PCGS or NGC, these are considered true treasures of the coin world. 3. Wrong planchet error. This is where things get truly mind-blowing. A few 1979 quarters were struck on planchets, coin blanks, intended for other denominations, like pennies or foreign coins. One documented case involved a 1979 quarter struck on a 1-cent copper planchet, giving it a reddish tone and incorrect weight. These oddities are incredibly rare and can sell for $75,000 to $112,000, depending on condition. Moneybag the value. This quarter could be worth a luxury car or more. Here's what some of these rare 1979 era quarters have sold for. Double die obverse, DDO up to $60,000 to $92,000 in mint condition. Wrong planchet error. Between $75,000 and $112,000 for full strike examples. Major off-center strike with date visible, up to $10,000 to $15,000. Perfect uncirculated condition, even without errors. Some 1979 quarters graded MS 67 or higher can bring $1,000 plus. Keep in mind, these coins don't look like treasure at first glance. They might even be sitting unnoticed in circulation right now. Magnifying glass tilted left. How to spot a 1979 quarter worth thousands. Think you might have one? Here's how to check. 1. Look at the mint mark. Most 1979 quarters were minted in Philadelphia, P, or Denver, D. Check to the right of Washington's ponytail. Errors can be found in both. 2. Check the weight. A regular 1979 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours weighs dramatically more or less, it may be struck on the wrong planchet. 3. Inspect the text for doubling. Use a magnifying glass to look at "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date. If any letters or numbers appear doubled, you might have a DDO error. 1. Look for off-center strikes. If the design is misaligned or part of the coin is blank, that's a potential goldmine, especially if the date is still visible. Why this coin is so rare, and so valuable. So, what makes 1979 quarters like this so rare? White heavy checkmark. They were struck during a period of high production, so quality control wasn't always perfect. White heavy checkmark. Most errors were caught and destroyed, only a few escaped into circulation. White heavy checkmark. Very few people saved 1979 quarters in pristine condition, especially with visible errors. White heavy checkmark. And demand from collectors is growing every year. The combination of low survival rate and high demand has pushed prices through the roof. Direct hit wrap-up. Your spare change could be a six-figure treasure. Let's recap the facts. Rare 1979 quarter errors, like the double die obverse, wrong planchet strikes, and major off-center errors, are out there. Some of these coins have sold for $60,000, $92,000, even $112,000. You can find one by checking your spare change, using a magnifier, and knowing the signs. Authentication and grading are the keys to unlocking top dollar value. So before you spend that quarter, take a second look. It might be worth more than your car, your savings, or even your house. The background: 1980, a modern minting era, but not without mistakes. By 1980, the U.S. Mint had modernized much of its coin production process. The Washington quarter, introduced in 1932, was now made of copper-nickel clad instead of silver, and minting technology had improved significantly. But even with high-speed machinery and quality control, mistakes still slipped through, and some of those mistakes turned into serious treasure for coin hunters. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P mint mark on the coin's obverse front, struck millions of quarters that year. Yet, buried among them are a few extraordinary errors that transformed regular coins into collectibles worth up to $115,000 at auction. The error: what makes the 1980 P quarter so valuable? Let's break down the types of errors that make 1980 P quarters so rare and desirable. 1. Double die obverse, DDO. This is when the coin's die, the stamp used to strike the coin, had a slight misalignment or doubling during production. It results in doubled letters or numbers on the obverse, usually visible in Liberty. In God We Trust. The date, 1980. A strong DDO can drastically increase the coin's value. If it's crisp, uncirculated, and authenticated, it could sell for $20,000 to $66,000, or higher. 2. Wrong planchet error. Weigh less than the standard 5.67 grams. Have a red or gold hue instead of silvery gray. Be smaller in diameter or feature incomplete strikes. Coins like this have sold at auctions for $75,000 to over $95,000, depending on their condition. 3. Off-center strike or broad strike. Off-center errors occur when the coin isn't properly centered in the press, leading to a partial or misaligned image. Broad strikes happen when the coin is struck without the collar that keeps its shape. If the date is still visible and the coin is in great shape, collectors have paid $10,000 to $25,000 or more. But here's the grand prize. 4. 1980 P quarter struck on a silver planchet, extremely rare. Although quarters had officially stopped using silver after 1964, a tiny number of planchets from earlier years occasionally got stuck in mint machinery and were accidentally used later. A 1980 P quarter struck on a silver planchet would weigh around 6.25 grams, instead of 5.67 g. Have a solid silver edge, no copper showing. Sound different when dropped, a high ping sound. These ultra-rare silver strikes have fetched $95,000 to $115,000 at auction due to their rarity and historic significance. Moneybag real sales: how much have these coins sold for? Let's talk actual numbers. 1980 P double die quarter, mint stayed up to $66,000. Wrong planchet errors, up to $95,000. Confirmed silver planchet strike, as high as $115,000. Off-center strike with full date, $10,000 to $20,000. Most of these values come from auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, and sales tracked by grading services like PCGS and NGC. 1. Look for off-center strikes if the design is misaligned or part of the coin is blank. That's a potential goldmine, especially if the date is still visible. Why this coin is so rare, and so valuable. So, what makes 1979 quarters like this so rare? White heavy checkmark. They were struck during a period of high production, so quality control wasn't always perfect. White heavy checkmark. Most errors were caught and destroyed, only a few escaped into circulation. White heavy checkmark. Very few people saved 1979 quarters in pristine condition, especially with visible errors. White heavy checkmark and demand from collectors is growing every year. The combination of low survival rate and high demand has pushed prices through the roof. Direct hit wrap-up. Your spare change could be a six-figure treasure. Let's recap the facts. Rare 1979 quarter errors, like the double die obverse, wrong planchet strikes, and major off-center errors, are out there. Some of these coins have sold for $60,000, $92,000, even $112,000. You can find one by checking your spare change, using a magnifier, and knowing the signs. Authentication and grading are the keys to unlocking top dollar value. So before you spend that quarter, take a second look. It might be worth more than your car, your savings, or even your house. The background: what's special about the 1992 D quarter? The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932. By 1992, quarters were made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, no silver, no fancy finishes, just everyday change. But during this routine production year, something very unusual happened at the Denver Mint, where the 1992 D quarter was struck. Collision: the error. What makes the 1992 D quarter so valuable? The most sought-after error on the 1992 D quarter is known as the close AM reverse variety, a mistake so subtle, most people would never notice it. Let me break it down. On the reverse of most Washington quarters, you'll see the words United States of America and quarter dollar wrapping around an eagle. But just below that, between the words America, the letters A and M are supposed to have a wide space between them. But on the error coin, A and M are almost touching. A trait that comes from a proof die accidentally used on circulation coins. This rare die variety wasn't supposed to be used on regular coins at all. This same close AM error is famous on pennies from 1992, but it also accidentally appeared on a very small number of 1992 D quarters, and that's what makes them ultra-rare and massively valuable. Moneybag: the value, from pocket change to powerhouse prices. Let's talk numbers. Because of their rarity, verified 1992 D close AM quarters have sold at $69,000 to $99,000 in high mint state condition. Up to $128,000 for top-grade examples, MS67 plus or with special die markers. Even circulated examples, if confirmed authentic, can bring tens of thousands of dollars. The key to unlocking those massive values? Certification. Coins that are graded and verified by trusted agencies like PCGS or NGC fetch the highest bids at auction. Magnifying glass tilted left: how to identify a rare 1992 D quarter. Think you might have one of these treasures? Here's how to check. 1. Look for the D mint mark. It's on the obverse front of the coin, right next to Washington's ponytail. If it's not a D, it's not from Denver and won't qualify. 2. Flip it to the reverse. Examine the word America. Use a magnifying glass or zoom tool. A wide space between the A and M is normal. A tight space or touching letters means you could have the rare close AM variety. 3. Check the quality. Higher condition coins, with no wear, scratches, or discoloration, will fetch a much higher price. Uncirculated or near-perfect examples are the gold standard. Real sales: these quarters are breaking records. A graded MS67 1992 D close AM quarter sold for over $90,000 at auction. Another example, also certified by PCGS, fetched $128,000 because of its exceptional quality and rarity. Even worn versions, once authenticated, have reached $15,000 to $25,000. There are only a few known examples, meaning the odds are low, but the reward is massive. Wrap up. Don't overlook the quarter in your pocket. 1. Look for off-center strikes. If the design is misaligned or part of the coin is blank, that's a potential goldmine, especially if the date is still visible. Why this coin is so rare, and so valuable. So, what makes 1979 quarters like this so rare? White heavy checkmark: they were struck during a period of high production, so quality control wasn't always perfect. White heavy checkmark: most errors were caught and destroyed, only a few escaped into circulation. White heavy checkmark: very few people saved 1979 quarters in pristine condition, especially with visible errors. White heavy checkmark and demand from collectors is growing every year. The combination of low survival rate and high demand has pushed prices through the roof. Direct hit wrap up: your spare change could be a six-figure treasure. Let's recap the facts. Rare 1979 quarter errors, like the double die obverse, wrong planchet strikes, and major off-center errors, are out there. Some of these coins have sold for $60,000, $92,000, even $112,000. You can find one by checking your spare change, using a magnifier, and knowing the signs. Authentication and grading are the keys to unlocking top dollar value. So before you spend that quarter, take a second look. It might be worth more than your car, your savings, or even your house.